Good morning. Thanks for taking time to join me for a cup of coffee here in my home study. It's been such a cold week here in Oklahoma, and I've had a lot of coffee this week, as I'm sure many of you have. But I've been getting up early to take our daughter to school. And the fun part of that is that she just turned 15. And so the topic of our conversation on the way to school has turned to driving. We've been having a lot of fun looking forward to her getting her permit and then her license and ultimately a car. And we're going to have a great time this year. But she's been asking me so many questions about driving as we've been navigating some icy roads here in Oklahoma. She's goes early to school, so we've been talking about driving in the dark and learning how to avoid some of the distractions along the way and just trying to think about safe ways to drive. After I dropped her off at school, I was thinking about how much driving can correlate to our spiritual lives. That we have to learn to watch for the signs along the way. That we have to think about the distractions and dangers that we might encounter. We need to learn how to navigate to find our destination. In our spiritual lives, one of the real challenges is that so often we are so busy. We're doing so many different things in our lives that we don't take the time to really pause and to consider intentionally, what are we doing to grow in our faith? And this reflection really led me to a passage of scripture that I love so much from the book of James, chapter 1. I think it's probably very helpful for our spiritual lives and maybe for driving too. Take a listen to James chapter 1. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Now, I'm not sure if that's for the person learning to drive or for the person who's teaching them to drive, but I know that it applies to every one of us in our spiritual lives. That we need to pause and take more time to listen, maybe a little less time to speak, certainly a time to be free of worries and distractions, of fears and of our anger, in order that God might speak to us. It's one of the things that I love about our daily devotional lives, our coffees with a pastor each day. But I was also talking with a friend this week about how that has really changed for me this past year. In the midst of a very challenging time with COVID and so many changes in our lives, I found that I was able to be a little bit more intentional about sitting down to pray, to read the Bible, to just reflect on what's going on. And I'm hoping and praying that that doesn't change even as we start to move through this pandemic, and hopefully we're able to be back together in person more often and to do so many of the things we love, like traveling. But I really believe that we will look back on this year as one in which we were able to focus a little differently on some of the important things in our life, including our spiritual lives. And so I pray that this week, again, in the midst of a very cold week, and the continuing pandemic in which we're praying for our neighbors and our friends, that you'll take time to think seriously about your spiritual life as you listen, as you're slow to speak, certainly slow to become angry, and as we seek one another to love our neighbors without exception. Have a great day.